How Benedicto Kiwanuka tried to assassinate Obote. The untold story. Political rivalry turns personal. Uganda's early post-independence years were filled with high political drama, betrayal, and violent ambition. At the heart of this turmoil were two powerful men, Milton Obote, the country's first executive president, and Benedicto Kiwanuka, the country's first prime minister and leader of the Democratic Party (DP). Their rivalry was not just political, it was deeply personal and ideological. While Obote championed a centralized state and allied with socialist factions, Kiwanuka represented Catholic interests, Uganda loyalty, and conservative constitutionalism. Their visions for Uganda clashed bitterly. What began as democratic disagreement would eventually spiral into a desperate and deadly assassination plot that nearly ended Obote's life in December 1969. The story of how Kiwanuka was implicated in this plot reveals the dark undercurrents of Uganda's fragile early politics. The ghost of the 1962 elections. Uganda's independence in 1962 brought immense hope. In the first national elections, Benedicto Kiwanuka's Democratic Party seemed poised to lead. However, a strange alliance between Obote's Uganda People's Congress UPS and the Buganda Monarchist Party, Kabaka Yeka KY, pushed Kiwanuka out. Obote became prime minister, and Kiwanuka, who had spent years fighting colonial rule through the courts, was sidelined. This bitter defeat never sat well with Kiwanuka. His dreams of shaping Uganda's legal and political system were dashed, and the alliance between Obote and the Buganda kingdom, despite Buganda's deep Catholic roots, was seen as an ultimate betrayal. Uganda betrayal and the 1966 crisis. By 1966, relations between Obote and the Kabaka of Buganda had soured. Obote moved to centralize power and reduce the autonomy of Buganda. When the Kabaka resisted, Obote ordered a military assault on the king's palace, forcing him into exile. Kiwanuka, who had long been a defender of Buganda's cultural and political rights, viewed this as a direct assault on the people's identity. As Obote suspended the constitution and imposed a new one in 1967, abolishing kingdoms altogether, many former allies turned bitter enemies. Kiwanuka, now completely outside the corridors of power, believed Obote had not just betrayed Buganda but Uganda itself, from opposition to conspiracy. By 1969, Kiwanuka's politics had shifted from courtroom battles to underground networks. Though still a public figure, his frustration had deepened into private resistance. A secret network of opposition elements began to form, made up of former military officers, royalist loyalists, exiled politicians, and radical students. Among them was a man named Michael Sebaduka, a former soldier with access to firearms and a taste for action. Through intermediaries, he and other conspirators aligned their cause with Kiwanuka's vision of a Uganda free from Obote's tightening grip. It was during this time that a bold idea took shape: remove Obote by force. Assembling the assassination team, the plan was simple in theory but daring in execution. A small team of gunmen, most with prior military training, would infiltrate a public rally organized by the UPS. They would be dressed in party colors, pretending to be supporters. Their weapons, mostly pistols and grenades smuggled from regional black markets, would be hidden in cloth and waistbands. The goal was to shoot Obote at close range and flee in the ensuing chaos. The rally, attended by thousands, would make it hard for authorities to catch anyone in the confusion. Kiwanuka, while not directly holding a gun, was alleged to have known of the plot and supported it from the shadows. Choosing the perfect day to strike, December 19, 1969, was picked for the attack. Obote was to speak at Lugogo Sports Stadium in Kampala, a major event filled with party supporters, media, and diplomats. The assassins would blend in with the crowd and move in as Obote approached the stage. Sebaduka was to take the lead, with others positioned nearby to cover his escape. The men rehearsed their timing, studied the stadium layout, and memorized exit routes. Their escape vehicle was parked discreetly near a secondary road, ready to speed them away from the scene. Dressed like supporters, armed like killers, as the crowd filled the stadium, Sebaduka and his team slipped into position. Wearing up shirts and holding flags, they looked like die-hard supporters of the president. No one suspected that under their clothes were loaded pistols and grenades. As Obote began walking toward the podium, waving to the crowd, Sebaduka moved closer. At a distance of less than 5 meters, he reached into his coat. The moment of truth, Obote in the crosshairs. Sebaduka fired the first shot. The bullet hit Obote, grazing his face and neck. Chaos erupted. Screams rang out as the crowd panicked. Obote's security detail rushed to shield him. Blood flowed from the president's wounds, but he remained conscious and was immediately whisked away to safety. Sebaduka tried to lob a grenade at the stage, but it misfired and rolled under a vehicle nearby. He turned and ran, pushing through the panicking masses, his escape plan already in motion. Escape, blood trails, and a burning car. Sebaduka reached the getaway car and sped off. To cover his tracks, he set the vehicle ablaze along a rural stretch outside Kampala and fled on foot. But he had been wounded during the chaos. As he ran through thickets and swamps, his blood left a trail. Authorities quickly launched a massive manhunt. Police dogs picked up his scent, and within 24 hours, Sebaduka was found hiding in a sugarcane plantation. He was arrested and taken to Kampala under heavy guard. The arrests and the aftermath. Sebaduka's arrest opened a floodgate. Under interrogation, he named contacts, locations, and meetings. Within days, several men were arrested, including individuals linked to opposition circles and DP insiders. The government used the moment to accuse the Democratic Party and Kiwanuka himself of orchestrating the plot. Kiwanuka was arrested and charged with treason, though evidence directly tying him to the shooting was weak. Nevertheless, Obote's regime moved quickly to shut down all opposition. The Democratic Party was banned and many of its leaders went underground or into exile. The fall of Kiwanuka and the Democratic Party. Kiwanuka's arrest marked the end of his political career and the effective death of opposition in Uganda. While he was later released, his reputation never recovered. The DP collapsed as a political force, and Obote tightened his control over the state. But the price of survival was steep. Obote became more paranoid, convinced that everyone was out to kill him. His administration turned increasingly authoritarian, relying on military force, surveillance, and political suppression. Meanwhile, the resentment in the country continued to simmer, a legacy of violence and silence, though. Obote survived the assassination attempt. The political violence set a tone that would haunt Uganda for decades. The country moved from one strong man to another, and the dream of democracy faded into silence. Benedicto Kiwanuka would later meet a darker fate in 1972 when Idi Amin, who overthrew Obote, had him abducted and murdered. The line between victim and villain in Uganda's history is often blurred, but the story of that day in December 1969, when bullets flew, crowds screamed, and a nation trembled, remains one of the most daring and dramatic chapters in Uganda's political history. It was a day when ambition and revenge nearly changed the course of a nation.